What's up? This is Patrick. Welcome to the Double ETF podcast, episode 8. I hope you guys are doing great. Before we get on my conversation with Karli, I need to give you a little more context, just in case. When this was recorded, Trump was still technically president. So there's a comment about that. It's not about Biden, it's about Trump. And just wanted to clear that up. And also, I talk about how Patrick Bateman was in the book Less Than Zero. That's not true. Bateman was in The Rules of Attraction, not Less Than Zero. And that's it pretty much. So we talked about sports, travel, some cities in Europe. And it was a fun time. So I hope you enjoy. And without further ado, here it is, my conversation with Karli Anderson. All right, so with me today I have Karli Anderson from Denver. Hi, how are you?
I'm great today, Patrick. How are you?
Good. So we know each other from the Name That Tune weekly quiz. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Let's see. So, I live in Denver, Colorado. I have 3 kids. I work for a building materials company, which doesn't sound terribly exciting, but it's actually a really cool job because I get to travel all over the world. I get to visit operations and investors through what I do. So when it's not COVID and we're able to travel, I have a pretty great gig. And right now that gig is mostly at home or at my office, and that's been fine. I'm originally from Alliance, Ohio, which is a town of about 15,000 people, but I left there when I was 17 and never returned. So I'm pretty much a Denver native. At this point, I've lived here longer than any other place I've ever lived.
So have you lived elsewhere than Ohio and Denver?
Yes. Let's see. I spent a year between high school and college. I was an exchange student and I was in the French-speaking part of Belgium. I was in the Ardennes.
Nice.
Which was wonderful. It was life-changing. And then, in college, I lived in Southeast Ohio, Athens, Ohio, went to Ohio University. And then, also I lived in Philadelphia where I went to graduate school. I went to, the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. So I was right in Center City, Philly for a couple of years. And then also did a stint in New York working in investment banking, before moving to Denver.
And what did you study in Philadelphia?
Finance.
Oh, okay. Like a MBA type thing?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
Yeah, it's an MBA program. It's a very good MBA program, but America's current president went through that program and that school. So I don't usually tell people that that's where I went to school anymore. It used to carry a lot of weight, but I've really downplayed that the last 4 or so years.
Oh, wow. Well, maybe at some point it will regain its standard, or
That's
standing.
Exactly right. It's
Hopefully.
funny. I think that I look back on it now, and I mean, you always put things in its in the context of today, right? But I think a lot of America's value system issues emanate from the thinking that they teach at that school. So because they teach you 3 things. They teach you shirking, poaching, and opportunistic renegotiation, and a lot of finance. But
Okay.
It's like those 3 things. Like it's a very tough environment, right? It's not for the faint of heart, and you definitely learn how to be a very tough business person there, and how to kind of bend the rules sometimes. So I don't know if it will regain its luster. It might be gone forever, but that's okay. We need to move on as a country from this.
We do.
Right?
I agree. But can you tell me in a few words what shirking is? I've seen the word before.
Oh,
I've seen the word before, but
Yes. Shirking is getting other people to do your work for you, or not doing the work and saying you did the work.
Okay. And they teach you that.
That's the joke, is that, because a lot of people, because there's I went there, I was completely like unprepared for this, right? Like I thought it was the nation's #1 business school. This is where, my dad worked in a vacuum cleaner factory. Like I have nobody in my life that like went to college or anything. So I got into this great graduate school, #1 in the country. I'm so excited to get there. Everybody else like went to the best prep schools, the best colleges. Their parents were rich. They had, you know what I mean? Very successful upbringings.
Yeah.
And so that like cynicism about like why you were going to school for 2 years was like really shocking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you get there on a scholarship?
No, I took out a massive loan to go there, but you get a really good paying job out of that. So it worked itself out fine. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And are they strict when it comes to who gets to go there? Or as soon as you pay, you're in?
No, it was very selective when I applied. It was like a less than 10% acceptance rate, but I was a woman. I was from Colorado. I'd moved to Denver out of college. And I worked in the tech industry. So I kind of had three things that made me kind of uniquely positioned to get in. And that had a lot to do with it. And test scores. So no, you actually do have to, qualify to get in. You have to earn it to get in. But then once you get there, a lot of people have already been in investment banking for a couple of years. So I mean, the bar is already pretty high in terms of what people know.
Wow. And how many people how many people graduate every year?
They graduate 700 people a year. And I remember being like, this is what it's like. I remember there were two guys in front of me in one of my classes. There was a class like operations management. It was very complicated, like how to optimize a factory to make the optimal number of widgets, right? Given limited time and materials. And I worked so hard on this class, right? I was in the library all the time. I memorized every problem set. I got to the exam. I had memorized how to answer every question, so I could squeak by with a B-. And we were filling out course evaluations, and the two guys in front of me looked at each other and said, "There was a textbook for this class?"
Oh my God.
And I about like crawled under my desk, right? Like I was like, oh my God, I worked so hard. So It was a lot. It was very, very difficult. It was probably the two hardest years of my life because like socially I had nothing to offer because, right? Like who wants to talk to somebody whose parents aren't like rich and successful? A, and then B, like, I mean, I can't help anybody, career wise. And then, academically it was very difficult, but
wow.
I was a lot stronger for it when it was over.
Yeah, no, sure. I'm sure. But, so you were kind of social outcast, quote unquote?
Yes.
Or? Huh.
Yeah. At graduation, I introduced myself to the person in front of me in line to get their diploma and the person behind me, and they had never seen me before. They didn't know who I was.
Wow.
I'd been in that class in that school for 2 years.
You were a ghost student.
I was a ghost. It's like, I think it's
Jesus.
like in France, it's the equivalent, like France, they have Sciences Po, right? Like that's the pipeline where all the like really like, yeah. It was like being at Sciences Po, but like, but being like you're a ghost. That's pretty much it.
Wow. And that's crazy. You also mentioned living in New York for a while.
Yes.
How long?
Gosh, I lived there probably a total of 3 years.
Around which time?
99 to 2002.
Okay, so you were there for the big day,
yes.
9/11.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, dumb question, but were you working that day, or how did you?
I was, but not on that side. Goldman's offices are, probably about they're a couple miles from. Okay. Yeah, so Goldman's offices were at One York Plaza. That's kind of on the eastern edge of the tip of Manhattan. It's right next to this. If you've ever gone to the Statue of Liberty, it's the big office building next to the Staten Island Ferry Terminal that you get on to go to the Statue of Liberty. So kind of on the other side of that tip of Manhattan. So, it was awful and terrible. But not in that immediate area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you stuck on the island for a couple of days, or were you able to get out, or?
No, stuck there for a while. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm sorry to be such a downer.
That's okay. We can move on to more exciting topics.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So from New York, you moved to Denver. Was there any reason why Denver, or there was an opportunity there, or?
Yeah. So, it was relationship related.
Okay. That's a valid reason.
Yeah. So it was, my boyfriend at the time had, followed me to Philly, for me to go to B school. He had already lived in Philly prior to that. So Wharton was kind of his idea that I, go there. I actually had planned to go to a different business school, but he said,
Okay.
if you get into Wharton, I'll follow you to Philly. So he followed me to Philly, got a job there, and then, followed me on. And then, his mother was like, she's fine now, but was diagnosed with breast cancer at the time. So that was the impetus to move back. And it was also like with everything going on in New York at that time, it was like, well, do we really want to commit to New York or do we want to maybe relocate? And at the time that kind of made sense. So I've been here ever since.
Okay. So at least you weren't completely on your own in Philly, at least. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. No, that's.
I had someone to listen to my sad stories and yeah. I could eat pretzels and drink beer with them, which is what I did really.
All right. And you go to sports game and you start fights. They also do that in Philly.
They're very good at that. That's
Yes,
why they had a jail at the football stadium when we lived there. Yes.
I heard about that. So that's true. That's not a rumor. That's actually true. My God.
That is true. The old Veterans Stadium. I don't know if the new stadium has a jail or not, but the old Veterans Stadium did. Yeah.
Wow. Nice. Okay. Okay. What else can I say?
Well, I mean, in your football world, right? Like it gets pretty heated, right?
Well, I mean, the Canadian Football League is pretty chill.
Well, no, I didn't mean that. I meant like soccer. I understand Canadian football.
I'm just joking.
Getting into a brawl.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the soccer picture here it's been growing for a while, but it's not the super intense environment that it is in South America or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I'd say that the most heated sports rivalry here was Montreal against Boston. Mm-hmm. Canadians versus Bruins. And back then it would have been Canadians versus Nordiques, Quebec Nordiques. But now they are in Denver. They are the Avalanche now.
They are. That's true.
Yeah. And they won the cup the year that they left Quebec City. So,
95.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes. Or should I say 95? Yes.
Wait. Oh, yeah. That's true. In Belgium. In Belgium, they say 95.
Yes.
Here, we would say 95.
Exactly. Yeah.
But 95 is much more logical.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And if we can switch gears to sports a little bit, are you a big sports fan or?
I am. I follow it like I follow the highlights in the news. So I like sports a lot. Okay. The NBA is my favorite though. I could sit and watch NBA basketball every night. And NBA on Twitter is my joy. Like I just love it. I get the biggest kick out of it. But I like a little bit of everything. Okay.
I'll be honest. I don't know how well the Nuggets have been doing lately. So not good.
Not as good as last year. Last year they made the Western Conference Finals. Which was really exciting because we are a small market team. And we beat another small market team, the Utah Jazz, which means the games were on at 11 o'clock in the morning and nobody on weekdays and nobody cared, but I cared. So that's okay. It's kind of like following some of your Canadian football. It's special to the people that have the teams, but it's not necessarily of national importance. Yeah. But I am very excited tonight because, I grew up in Northeast Ohio and the Cleveland Browns are in for American football. They have a wild card game. It's the first time in 18 years that they're in the playoffs. So that's very exciting too.
Yeah. Against the Steelers tonight.
Yes.
So it's going to be a tough one.
It's going to be very tough.
But, I remember the Cleveland Browns. The last time they made the playoff, wasn't it Testaverde at QB?
Oh my gosh, Vinny Testaverde. You have a very good memory. We had Vinny Testaverde. We had Bernie Kosar. Yeah, yes.
Bernie Kosar much
yes.
before that.
Much before that, yes.
With Ernest Biner and the fumble in Denver. Right?
I'm very impressed you know that. Yes. Yes. The fumble.
I used to be a maniac about the NFL.
Really?
Yeah. The San Diego Chargers and the New York Giants were my teams. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Now, why did you pick those two? That's interesting.
Because my favorite players were Lawrence Taylor and Junior Seau.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So, rest in peace. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Taylor isn't dead yet, but who knows?
Right.
So no, yeah, NFL is still I mean, it's not my main thing, but I still follow it a little bit, watch the playoffs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, the fumble in, Denver and yeah, oh God, I'll admit, please don't hate me, but I hate the Broncos.
Oh, I hate them too. It's okay. I hate
Oh,
them
really?
as well. Yeah, I do.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
How come? Well, I mean, because of the fumble game, or
Well, it's two things. So there was the drive before that.
Yes.
Before there was the fumble,
Yes.
there was the drive. So like whenever they show a montage about Cleveland sports, it's always the drive, the fumble, and the 97 Florida Marlins who beat the Cleveland Indians. I don't know if you remember Edgar Renteria hit the walk-off home run and it was all over. Like those were the three chances Cleveland had at a championship.
My God.
All three of them were thwarted, but I've never embraced the Denver Broncos, and I've lived here off and on since like 1996. So it's never going to happen. Okay. I don't like it. I'll tell you why, because it's like, I've never seen a more entitled fan base in my life. Like if they don't win or if they're not in the playoffs, it's like a major affront. Like they don't understand the ebbs and flows of professional sports, rebuilding a team, right? Bringing on new rookies who may or may not work out. Like that whole like life cycle is something that they just don't think applies to them, which I freaking hate. So I am unabashedly not a fan of the Denver Broncos, but I'll tell you that traveling to Canada so much for work over the years, like I do also feel for people that are Toronto Maple Leafs fans because they've never gotten their moment in the sun, right? So there's that too, recently at least,
Yeah, I think their last cup was in 1967, I think.
Yeah.
So that's insane, honestly. And, I hate the Broncos because they used to kick the shit out of the Chargers year after year.
Consistently. That's true. You're right.
Yeah. And they were good for so long that, as you said, massive entitlement. Yes. It is quite annoying, I gotta say. So, yeah. Okay, so if we can switch gears again, switch to music a little bit. Mm-hmm. Do you play an instrument?
I don't.
I don't either. So, okay. Do you know if you have sort of a gift for it and you never had a chance to work on it, or it's just not, you just have no talent for that, or?
You know what? My kids all have all done music to some extent or will do music. So they seem reasonably good at it. I have several relatives that have perfect pitch. So I would think that I would be okay at it, but I just never really got the chance. It was always expensive. Music was expensive and that's just not something we did. So I've always just been a fan, but not something that I got to pursue. But my middle kid, who's 12, is learning to play the electric guitar. And it is so exciting. And she's actually taking lessons from a friend of ours who is a former member of Parliament Funkadelic, who had a stroke and can no longer perform professionally, but still gives music lessons, guitar lessons. And so I try not to impose too much of my excitement on that opportunity that one of my kids is learning electric guitar, but it's a bit of a dream. And my oldest studied drums for a long time too.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that some of your relatives have a perfect pitch. Isn't that really rare?
I don't know if it's really rare, but they're all like singers. And they can all match, like they can play things by ear. So I don't know if that's rare or not, but I have 2 aunts and 2 cousins who have perfect pitch. Mm-hmm.
And are they professional musicians, or do they work in that field, or?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. No. Like one studied music for a long time, but they waited tables and worked at Bob Evans and that kind of thing. But we're told they had perfect pitch, so it might even be a family legend. I don't know, but they're very good singers and they seem to be able to pick up things. So who knows? Okay.
All right. Okay, so let's stick to music a little bit. What would be your top 3 bands? Your favorite 3 bands?
Well, number 1 is, of course, U2. That's my favorite. I'm wearing a U2 shirt today. I've got so many of them. So U2 is my favorite, hands down. My number 2 is The Clash.
Okay.
Yeah. And my number 3 is actually, it surprises people, but it's Green Day. I absolutely love them.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Then you open the door for the follow-up question. How come Green Day?
I think because I feel like I've grown up with them, right? So like you two, I've grown up with because I embraced them when I was young, but a lot of their music, it came out when I was like, a kid. But I feel like Green Day like really came out like around 1993. And they always say like whatever music was when you were kind of in your early 20s really sticks with you. And I just feel like, everything. And it was funny because I talked about being very disappointed in their new album, like Father of All MFers. But it was because I love them so much. And I actually developed this elaborate theory that like Billy Joe is putting out new music and it all kind of sucks because he's got some type of Dr. Landy relationship like Brian Wilson has with somebody because Billy Joe has struggled with addiction and maybe he's just doing this music as part of his rehab and it's not very good, but they're just going to, pump out as much as possible. I don't know, but I wouldn't do that for somebody I didn't care about. Like I wouldn't develop an elaborate conspiracy theory for like, somebody that was not so near and dear to my heart. And I do totally love seeing them live. I've seen them a million times.
Okay.
Not as many as I've seen you two. I've seen you two more often than I've seen Green Day, but I've seen them every time they come to town. They always look like they're having fun. They're high school friends. A lot like you two are high school friends, right? I think the American Idiot 21st Century Breakdown combination of albums to me are just like masterpieces. They're just amazing and stand on their own in addition to their incredible catalog.
Well, it is really rare bands that keep their fastball for so long. Eventually
yes, right.
they will move into another genre or another style that won't fit your taste as well,
Yes.
So it's a hit or miss,
Yes. Yeah.
Their latest album, had it been a while before their previous one?
No, it had not been that long. But they have been consistently putting out music, for the last, call it 5 or 6 years. But Billy Joe has been in and out of rehab. Like he's really struggled with alcoholism. And so there have been numerous canceled shows. A few years ago, they put out 3 full albums called Uno, Dos, Tres, which had a lot of, some was good, some wasn't. Again, some of it sounded very unfinished. And then they've also got this side project they've got called The Network, which is like an alter ego kind of, project that put out like 2 EPs, in the last year. So really prolific. And also Billy Joe was sequentially putting out covers while the quarantine was going on, but you would listen to them and you'd be like, okay, well, obviously he recorded an album of covers and they're just kind of dribbling out these singles, but I think that was part of a larger project. So it seems to me that he has been super busy writing new stuff. It's not all great, but they're putting it all out there probably because they do have a lot of fans like me that will consume all of it, even though it's not all great, right?
Yeah. And Billy Joe is the heart and soul of the band. So if for some reason he cannot perform anymore, it's the end of the band pretty much, right?
Exactly. It'd be over. Yeah. Yeah. And I should say Mike and Billy Joe are high school friends. Trey, they met like when they were like 19. But anyway, that's just a correction. They weren't all 3 high school friends. They met Trey at a party. But anyway.
No, honestly, I don't know much about that band to be quite honest. So I don't even know, and that's probably a sacrilege. I don't like right off the bat. I cannot tell you which city they're from.
Okay, they're from Oakland, California.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Huh. I learned something today.
Okay, now I have a question for you, though. I have a question.
Please.
I know you're the interviewer here, but I need to ask you this. So you have this great knowledge of like this, Duran Duran, dance floor classics, electronic music, but then you also are like an expert on Rush. So I want to know.
Not an expert, but
what is that? Well, you always seem to, beat a lot of other people who also really like Rush when we play Name That Tune. So I'm curious, is it just them or is it that genre about them that like makes you like them so much?
I'd say, I like prog rock, but I'd say it's mostly them because when I was in, after high school here in Quebec, we moved to, they call it CEGEP. It's like a community college kind of. So in CEGEP, I met a guy who became a friend for a long time, and he was a big Rush fan.
Okay.
And he introduced me to them.
Oh, neat. That's great.
And he was in a band occasionally, and he was a bass player. So every time I would drop by his house, he would be listening to old cassettes, Rush songs, and he could also play by ear. He couldn't read music.
Yeah.
But I would just sit there, and one thing that fascinates me is watching people who are good at their jobs just look at them go, like craftsmen, or like a guy who does clay pot, or stuff like that, or
that's cool.
painting. That fascinates me because I suck at all of those things. I can paint for shit. I have no skill for music. But I would just sit and watch him, mess around on his bass, stop, rewind, stop, play, stop, rewind, stop, play, and that was pretty cool. And he introduced me to Rush and a couple of other bands as well, heavy metal. But Duran Duran, it was the first vinyl I bought was Seven and the Ragged Tiger.
Oh. I love that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. Mm-hmm. And and then I moved on to other albums. That's why. In a nutshell, that's why.
Well, there's nothing like the enthusiasm of a friend to get you excited about a new band.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I don't know if you listened to the Year in Review with Josh, right?
Yes, I did.
So, and I don't think I cut that part out, but I say that when I'm working, I cannot listen to music because I focus on the lyrics and it messes me up completely. So, but for some reason I can listen to podcasts, and that's what I do.
Yeah. Wow.
I never have the time to discover new music pretty much. And I cannot go to concerts because I have a bad tinnitus. So, I'm kind of stuck in Ember. With my music knowledge,
You're the Han Solo of, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yes.
Exactly. So, it is what it is.
That's right, man. I mean, we're not all, look, we're not all playing soccer either necessarily because of our injuries, right? So it's all good.
True. Did you play sports in school?
I did. Sports are really big because my dad was a high school football star. So everybody in town in our family, so everybody expected my sister and I to be athletes. I played basketball all through school, which is funny because I'm not that tall, but I was a power forward. I was really good at blocking, and boxing people out. And I played softball, tennis, and basketball all through school. Okay.
I have to ask, how tall are you?
Oh, I'm like 5'5".
Okay.
But it's a small town. And if there's no cuts. I mean, if you show up, you can play on the basketball team. I mean, right?
Okay.
So like the girl that's 5'8" is the center. I mean, it's small, really small town. So I mean, certainly my career ended like when I was like a senior and there was no pushing that any further.
Okay. And your dad, which position did he play?
Yeah, he was a fullback.
Okay.
He was famous because he ran for 6 touchdowns in one game in 1960. Wow. Yeah. And, it is a record that still stands at the high school. No one has ever broken his record. Somebody got 5 touchdowns a couple of years ago, and the local newspaper, did all this research and found out, oh no, Jim Shoemaker's, record still stands. And when my dad passed away in 2014, we had like a celebration of life. We didn't have like a funeral, and everybody who came just wanted to talk about that game. And, everybody knew us for that. So like, we were untouchable, like in my hometown, like we could do nothing wrong. So like my sister's like crazy boyfriend moved in and he was like selling drugs out of the house. Well, it didn't matter because the cops would never bust him because it was Jim Shoemaker's house, right? Like it was crazy.
Wow.
And, there's this song by the Fountains of Wayne called All Kinds of Time. And it's everything that happens during the snap. And the quarterback grabbing the ball, and they say he's got all kinds of time right before he has to throw the ball.
Yeah,
you hear that cliche.
Yeah.
The Fountains of Wayne wrote a song about everything that's happening in that moment. Like his girlfriend's watching from the stands that he's going to marry. His dad and his brother are watching at home on the big screen TV. Well, that song just kills me because obviously there weren't big screen TVs in 1960, but it reminds me of my dad because he had that one perfect night and it stayed with him his whole life and he was completely defined by it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a good sports story.
It is. It's crazy, right? You know, in 2014, people remember a game that happened in 1960. That's bananas.
Yeah. I mean, it made the local paper and then it became legend, I guess.
Yes, it did.
Wow.
It did.
How about that? So actually as you know, I have a series of questions. So we can go ahead with that if you want. All right. So question 1 would be, what is your favorite sports movie?
Oh, gosh, that's a great question. It's Brian's Song. Do you know that one?
Yeah, I've never seen it, but I've heard about it plenty.
Yeah, I mean, it's about friendship, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently it's guaranteed waterworks.
Yes.
Every time you see it, you see that movie,
yes.
apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, good call. Good answer. Question 2. What is your favorite sports book?
You know, I don't know if I know the title of it, but it's Seven Rings. It's, I think it's called Seven Rings. It's by Phil Jackson. I read all the books that Phil Jackson wrote, just about like coaching and motivating because he's my favorite NBA coach. Because he came from he was kind of this gangly guy from like North Dakota, right? Who's like a hippie, right? He's into doing like shrooms and getting, and Native American, like, cause he came from the Northern Plains, right? So like the whole like Native American culture and, traditions. And he took all of that to, what at the time was, the precursor to the NBA. Then he became like a coach that nobody expected anything of. He was the coach of the little farm team in Albany, I think it was. Okay. Right. And then he just slowly worked his way up, after his career with the Knicks ended, but he slowly worked his way up. And I mean, now he's like the winningest coach in NBA history. And he obviously had this great partnership with Michael Jordan and, went on and, coached the Lakers. But I mean, he's written like a plethora of books. I can't even name all the titles. But he's a cool dude, man. And he really gets people, Okay. And that's what's wonderful about him.
You must have loved that, the Last Dance series on Netflix. I
loved it. I didn't want it to end. I did not want it to end. Even though I don't really love Michael Jordan, I loved everything going on while Michael Jordan was at his ascendancy. And I don't love Michael Jordan, but I really respect and appreciate him because the dude is so focused, right?
Well, I mean, he's driven to the point of being a sociopath, pretty much.
He's ruthless. So, yeah, totally ruthless.
And, I guess that brings another question. What is the real price of success? Okay, maybe he's the winningest athlete ever or something, but I don't know if he's got any true friends.
No, and people don't really know him.
So, was it worth it? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's not up to me to answer that. Mm-hmm. And I guess there are a million different answers and none of them is wrong. It depends on your values, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, but that's another topic entirely. That's another episode. That's another podcast. All right. So question number 3, what is your earliest memory of a sports game that you went to?
So, we would go to every summer, we would go to one Cleveland Indians game. And the Cleveland Indians, were terrible in the 1980s.
Yes.
And, so we would go and it was a very long drive. It was about an hour and a half. There was a dusty parking lot next to Municipal Stadium. And we would go and I would get a scorecard and I would sit there and I would fill out the scorecard because my dad had taught me how to read the baseball standings, very young. So I knew, all the stats. I would fill it out and we would always have to leave at the 7th inning stretch and would listen to it in the car on the way home because because my parents never went anywhere. And so they didn't want to deal with my parents did not like crowds or groups of people and they didn't want to have to deal with the crowd in the stadium and beat the traffic. Yeah. And I mean, it was the Cleveland Indians. It's not like that there was more than 5,000 people in the 60,000 person stadium anyway. Yeah. There was the guy with the drum. I mean, it's kind of like Major League, but it's true. There was the guy with the drum, out in the bleachers. But it always infuriated me that we left early. So I never leave I never leave a sporting event early. I just can't do it. I have to stay till the end. Same for you?
Same. Yeah, oh, yeah. Until the bitter end. I remember a few years ago in Berlin, Hertha got their asses kicked 6-2. And I was with a friend and I was like, I don't care if it's 16-2. I'm staying until full-time whistle.
Yes.
Yeah. That is non-negotiable.
Yes. That's right.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. So, question 4. What is your favorite or most memorable game that you saw in person?
Game that I saw in person. Let me think about that. Even just, it was, I think it was, 2019? It might have been. I gotta tell you, 2019. I mean, I saw the Denver Nuggets versus the Portland Trailblazers, in the final round of the Western Conference series, here in Denver. And I mean, again, the Nuggets are a small market team, but they have fabulous fans. So much fun, so engaged. I mean, just, lifting the roof off. And I'm a huge NBA fan. And I also really like the Blazers. Like, I like Damian Lillard, a lot. And he's a fun guy to watch. And, I'm blanking on his name, but they have this huge Turkish guy who no longer plays for Portland, but he's the guy that's been at the center of all this kind of political nonsense where the guy's got like a freaking bounty on his head. This poor guy for like standing up for like what's right. He plays, for Portland and the guy's freaking massive and he can like block anybody that's coming into the, that's coming in on a fast break. So that was super exciting. I would say that's probably my favorite, sports memory. And it's very recent.
Yeah, it is. I was kind of expecting something from when you were a kid or something. No, there is no wrong answer.
Growing up in Cleveland, you don't have a lot.
That's true.
You don't have a lot to draw from.
That's true.
I can tell you. I mean, the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers winning the NBA Finals was huge. I mean, I ran out in my front yard and started screaming and I was doing cartwheels, literally. Not joking. Nice. There's a video of it. Nobody from because no Cleveland team had ever won a championship in my lifetime. And it was emotional. It was unbelievable. I could barely wind myself down that night. It was crazy.
Jeez. Wow. I guess the Name That Tune group has to see that video now. That's it. That's non-negotiable.
Oh no.
That's pretty. No, that must have been pretty awesome, honestly, because it kind of reminds me when the Raptors won last year.
Yes.
So, but I remember LeBron, and because LeBron is from Ohio, right?
He is. He's from Akron.
That was exactly.
It was really special.
A big thing, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Oh.
For sure. So if we can switch gears and go back to music and movies, another series of quick questions. What is your favorite music movie?
Oh, it's Almost Famous. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, like my sister took me to see all the hair bands and she and I, we would get there really early. And we would always have to wait for the doors to open. And I would always see the groupies like waiting to get in. And so I was always fascinated by that. So the fact they made a movie that involved groupies, like I love that. I love the story. I love the dialogue. I love the movie.
And do you know which one is your least favorite movie?
Oh, of a music movie.
Yeah. The one you hated.
The one that I hated. I really wanted to like the Tommy movie and the Who, because I love the Tommy album. But I did not love Tommy the movie. It was really, I guess certain things like you could kind of suspend disbelief about, like that they're singing about it. But then when they actually try to turn that into a movie or they try to make that visual, do you know what I mean? Like a creepy pedophile uncle, like I can kind of suspend my disbelief, like when I'm listening to an album of that. Cause I have a very soft spot for the Who. Like they're not in my top 3, but they're definitely in my top 10. Like I love the Who. And I'd say the first time that I saw Tommy the movie, I was massively disappointed.
I can understand that.
Even though some of the performances were really good in it, but just some of the scenes were not good.
I don't, who directed that movie? Wasn't it Ken Russell? No.
It may have, I don't remember who directed it.
Because Ken Russell is really polarizing, let's say.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So, yeah.
Question 2. What is your favorite book related to music? Could be a biography or it could be something like High Fidelity, for example.
Oh, okay. it's somewhat related to music. It's the book Less Than Zero, which was turned into
yeah.
a not very good movie, an okay movie, but not great. The book is like, to me was like, I wouldn't want to say life changing because it's like overwhelming to say that, but like I was like a middle schooler when I discovered that book. It had not been out very long. And I loved how like the band X is like the backdrop to all the pivotal scenes in the movie. So they're going to the Roxy Club in Los Angeles. You know, they're going to see X. And it's a lot of like fast moving rich kids, which to like a poor kid in like, you know, a Rust Belt town was like so exciting. Right?
Yeah.
And it was like this big city living. But it's also a beautifully written book too. But it talks about how isolated these people are all like in their own worlds, right? And they can't connect with each other. And like the basis of why they are so massively unhappy, though they have like money and status and music and power and all these things that like young rich kids have, they're totally freaking miserable because they can't reach out and connect to somebody else. So the big line, the thing that keeps coming back over and over is they keep saying people in Los Angeles are afraid to merge. Like that's the euphemism for like the fact that they can't like relate to one another.
That's because I read that book. It's from Bret Easton Ellis.
Yes. Yeah.
And I read it a while ago. I don't remember that part specifically, but I remember really liking that book as well. And Patrick Bateman, that we see in American Psycho, has a bit part. He is mentioned a few times.
Yes, that's right.
So, but I only saw parts of the movie. I've never seen the entire movie.
The movie's not that good. It's okay. It's okay, but it's not great. It's not a good faithful represent. The book is better. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like most of the time.
Yes, you're right. That's true. It is most of the time better.
Not always though, but most of the time. For sure. All right. So question number 3. What was your first concert?
My parents took me to see Sha Na Na when I was 6.
Wow.
Do you know who that is?
Yes.
Okay. Because they're not necessarily like a global phenomenon, but they had a TV show. They had a syndicated TV show. And my parents were definitely like, I mean, they finished high school in 1960, so they were children of the 50s. So they loved 50s rock and roll. Right? So they loved Elvis. They loved Motown later. But they thought that like, you know, Sha Na Na like was playing like their music. Right. And, so we used to watch their syndicated TV show together every Saturday. Okay. And so when they came to town, they came to Akron. We went to the Front Row Theater and I got an autograph from Bowser, which was very exciting. I hung it in my bedroom.
Okay. Nice. Maybe that could be the answer to the next question. Question number 4 would be, what is your favorite or most memorable concert you went to?
It's not that one.
Okay.
So, it was, the Lollapalooza. I believe it was the second Lollapalooza that had Pearl Jam. And, they played it, I'd gone to the first year and then the second year I'd gone again expecting it was still going to be exciting and wonderful. And it was, but it was raining really hard. And it was at one of those like outdoor sheds. It was at the Blossom Music Center in Northeast Ohio. And it started raining really hard. And there's a big hill, right? There's an amphitheater that's kind of covered. And then there's a big hill behind it where everybody sits in the GA and watches. And it started raining and people slide down this hill. And one person, and Pearl Jam had been on early in the day because Red Hot Chili Peppers were the headliner. And I remember at one point somebody said, "Oh my God, that's Stone Gossard." And it was the members of Pearl Jam also sliding down the hill, getting covered with mud with everybody else.
Nice.
And it was really neat. And then a bunch of other, So, and then like, it was just a free for all in the rain. It was exactly what Lollapalooza was meant to be. And then it took like 5 hours to get out of that parking lot that night, but I didn't care. It was super fun. Yeah. And it was way better than like, I mean, the Chili Peppers at that point, that was when they came out with the flaming helmets.
Okay.
Which was like the opposite of everything going on, like with people sliding down the hill. And then Red Hot Chili Peppers come out with these flaming helmets and they can barely move, right? Like they have to kind of stand in one place. So it was a wonderful night. Magic night.
Nice. Good call. Good answer. Question number 5. What is your most memorable or favorite brush with fame? It doesn't have to be music related, actually. But go ahead.
One of my favorite stories. So when I was living in New York City, there was this great restaurant called Denal, and it was like a brunch place. And I was there having brunch with, at the time, my boyfriend, and Julia Roberts and Benjamin Bratt walked by. And
my God.
very slowly, no security or anything. And it's New York, right? So everybody's trying to be very blasé of like pretending not to notice that this is Julia Roberts and Benjamin Bratt, like at the height of their like relationship. And I'll never forget that the guy I was with, like, you know, looked up, looked at me, looked at Benjamin Bratt and goes, I have a sweater like that. Like,
wow.
Yeah, whatever. So
Okay.
that's probably my favorite story. Like, just because how far people will go to like not look like they're impressed by something is kind of funny.
Jesus. Wow. Yeah, that's something else. Okay, so question 6. Is there a band that turned you into a fan after you saw them live?
Yes. So I went to the opening night of U2's Joshua Tree tour in 2017, and the opening night was in Vancouver, one of my favorite cities on the planet. And I was really excited, and I got there, and it was at BC Place. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been to BC Place?
I've never been to Vancouver, so
okay.
No.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. It's a terrible place for a concert. It's like a big concrete monolith. I don't know when it was built, but it's definitely not made for concerts. And they opened the doors at 4:00, but there was like and there was a GA, right? And okay, so opening night of a U2 tour, I've done this a few times, like people will stand out for like, you know, hours to get in, right? And get their spot in the GA. And nobody's eaten or drank anything because you don't have to leave and go to the bathroom or anything like that. So usually there's concessions, and there was none. And so people were getting pretty hangry and pretty grouchy. And Mumford and Sons opened up, and I've always been like, oh, that's an Americana act. That's not they don't rock enough. They're not my thing. They were fantastic, Patrick. They blew me away, right?
Okay.
And I'm cheering for them, and I'm really loud. And I said to my friend that I had gone with, I said, wow, I was only casually interested going into this, but now I'm a fan. And the lady next to me goes, I'll say you're suddenly a fan. You couldn't shut up the whole time. So, yeah. So I felt bad. Yeah. So, I couldn't, because I was cheering and I was clapping loudly. But anyway, Mumford and Sons Live really converted me. I like them a lot now.
All right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Vancouver being one of your favorite cities. What would be your top 3 favorite cities?
Vancouver's definitely on that list, even though it rains a lot. I love how international it is. I love the combination of the sea and the mountains. I like Whistler. I like the whole area around there. So I just like the general vibe of it. It seems like a very livable place, very considerate place. I'd say my other 2.
Expensive though. That's the thing.
Yes, that's true. With all the non-Canadians moving there, it's kind of made everything bananas. Yeah. Agreed. So, so lots of empty lots of empty apartment buildings, the apartments nobody lives in, which is kind of a mess, but
I guess,
yeah. But, my other 2, I would say Barcelona. I love Barcelona. I get to go there once a year for a conference when it's not COVID, and it's in the spring. It's beautiful. It's not overrun by tourists. It's, again, you've got the sea. You've got some, but it's a beautiful landscape, wonderful restaurants. I like a late night city where people go out to dinner late, right? And like go out and do things late.
Spain is your spot then.
Spain is my place.
Yes.
So, I'd say Barcelona is my number 2. And
kick-ass architecture as well?
Yes.
And museums?
Yes. So much
Definitely.
to do. And third might be either Zurich or Stockholm. I like both of those a lot too.
Jeez, you like expensive places, don't you?
Well, I get to go there for work when somebody else is paying. So
I'm just I'm just joking, but those places are nice. Zurich is spotless and very pretty and all that. But I mean, I've only been there once. But what I remember, it's the city. It's the city of banks and insurance companies, and it shows. It doesn't have Berlin is grimy and dirty and people yell at you and it's fucked up sometimes, but it's got a charm, And
it does.
Zurich
it does.
I'm not going to say it's soulless because it's too harsh to say that.
Yeah.
But it lacks a little something.
I understand that. That's a very good point. You're right.
But Stockholm, I've never been. It's on my list.
Well, hopefully soon.
Yes. Oh yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Okay, so I have another bunch of questions, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the triple Qs, the quick and quirky questions.
Okay.
So get ready. Okay, number one. Would you rather speak all languages or play all musical instruments?
Speak all languages. Yeah. I enjoy people too much. And I mean, I went native when I was in Belgium. Like I got off that plane when I came home and I started speaking to my mother in French. That's how much I loved it there. Yeah.
And did you take French lessons before going?
I did. And the time that I lived there, though, there was no internet and there was no English language TV. So it was not that difficult. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're totally immersed, it's, yeah.
And when you send a letter, it takes like 3 weeks to go back to the US. Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I know. So which year was that?
It was 91 to 92.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I might talk about it at some point, but I worked in Germany for the summer of 94.
Oh, wow.
Former East Germany.
Wow.
So, 4 years after East Germany collapsed.
Yes.
Pretty much. So I was living with a host family and the guy was still a hardcore socialist. And I remember having some spirited discussions with him about that.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And see, that's like a piece of history. So I think people would be really interested in hearing about that, right? Because I mean, that was a unique period of time that's never going to happen again, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, those circumstances may happen somewhere else globally, but I mean, you think about it, right? Coming from the West and going there and when all these things are changing and people are being forced into it and it's obvious 4 years in that it's not going to go back to the way it was. That's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, I think so. And also, I mean, I'm sure that it was in Thuringia, the region, Thüringen, near Erfurt. And I'm pretty sure that for most of the people there, it was the first time that they saw a Canadian and maybe even a Western person in real life.
Isn't that amazing?
I was working in some really small villages.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I would talk to people. Yeah. Can you speak a little slower? Because, they use local dialect and I don't get any of that. So can you speak a little bit? I'm from Canada and the look they would give me, like I'm from Mars almost,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It will show on the pod at some point, I think.
Oh, that's going to be great.
Good.
I love hearing about people's like unusual, like I like that travel tales. Like I like anything where somebody's gone somewhere and been completely different experience, right? That's so interesting.
Yeah. All right. So look for it in a few weeks, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that was question 1. Question number 2. If you could get a ticket to any show or event, music or sports, past or present or future, what would you want a ticket to?
I would go to the Amnesty International Conspiracy of Hope concert at Giant Stadium, which I believe was in 1984, 1985. It was U2, Peter Gabriel, Youssou N'Dour, a Reformed Police. Not my favorite, but I actually have learned to like them since I've been listening to the Police more recently. I love Sting solo. Sting had gone solo, but they reformed the Police just for these 6 concerts. And I am a longtime member of Amnesty International. I started a chapter in high school. It's really important to me. And I actually had posters in my room from that tour that ran in Rolling Stone magazine. So if I could go back in time, I would go see those shows. And YouTube's you can watch the whole concert on YouTube. It's available because they showed it on MTV. But to be there in person would have been really special.
Awesome answer, honestly. All right, so let's switch gears again. Question number 3: what is your favorite insect?
I love leaf carrying ants.
Okay.
The ones that work in a little assembly line. Like if you go to a tropical country, you go to Panama or Costa Rica, you look down on the floor of the jungle or whatever, and there'll be these little ants carrying little bits of leaves, and they're all very well coordinated. I love that. It's like a little collective.
Nice. I think you're the 3rd person who mentions ants as an answer to that question. Yeah. They seem to be popular. So there you go.
They definitely carry over their own. They carry over their own weight. So what's not to like?
Yeah, they're cool. Absolutely. Question number 4. What scene from a movie scarred you for life?
So there was a TV miniseries adaptation of Stephen King's The Stand that ran on US TV in like 1994,
Yeah.
1995-ish. There is a scene where the virus gets out of the lab and everybody in the lab is dead. And some guy has gotten out of the lab in his pickup truck and he like drives his pickup truck through the like barrier gates and they're playing they're playing, that beat, what is the, Blue Oyster Cult song about the Reaper? Don't fear the Reaper.
Don't fear the Reaper.
They're playing Don't Fear the Reaper as it slowly pans over all the dead people in the lab. That was pre-COVID. That has bothered me since that miniseries. I could tell you everything in that miniseries because it freaking scarred me for life. And my roommates wanted to watch it. And, it really struck a chord. It really upset me.
Nice. All right. Okay. That works.
Yeah.
Question number 5. What is the best nickname you've ever heard?
Oh, yes. So I went to Ohio University, not Ohio State. Ohio University is like the 20,000 student extremely like liberal state school where everybody like, grows weed and plays hockey sack. So sports were not a big deal, but we had this really amazing basketball player who ended up playing in the NBA and his name was Gary Trent and the conference. Yes. His son now plays for Portland. He played for Portland and now his son, Gary Trent Jr. plays for Portland, but he went to Ohio University and, his nickname was because we were in the Middle American Conference known as the MAC. His nickname was the Shack of the Mac.
Oh, nice.
So that's my favorite. Yeah.
That's good. Okay. So question 6, what would you name your boat if you had one?
Oh gosh. I hadn't given this one any thought. If I had a boat, what would I name it? You know what? I would name it the Melody Jane because that is what my middle kid's name is, but she does not go by Melody Jane. She goes by Boo because it's gender neutral and everybody has called her Boo since she was a baby. So I would name the boat Melody Jane because I love the name Melody.
Oh, yeah. Good answer. For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Question 7. Where is the worst smelling place you've been?
Oh, this one's easy. So when I was in my early 20s, my first job out of college, I worked in an IT department at a big software company. And they sent me to India to open up a new office, like set up the computers, the network, all that stuff. Okay. And, and India, like parts of India are extraordinarily polluted, at the time. But, I actually I was going from, a visit to the Taj Mahal with a couple of coworkers on a Saturday because I stayed there over several weeks. And they stopped to there's no public bathrooms anywhere. So they stopped and said, you're just going to have to go by the side of the road. You're just going to have to go pee over there.
Oh,
and
Jesus.
it was dark and there was no lights. And I fell into like a wastewater pond.
Oh my God.
And I had to be pulled out by the driver of the car.
Jesus.
It was horrible. And so the worst smelling thing ever was me. It was horrible. And I had a car. There's nowhere to go. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to India?
No.
There's 2-lane highways, but there's no place to stop. Like, right. It was like we were going from the Taj Mahal, back to the hotel, which was 90 minutes away or whatever. And I mean, I can tell I was covered in sludge, all the way back. It was horrible. And then they had to give me a special disinfectant. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Silkwood. It felt like Silkwood. I'd use a special disinfectant to clean all that stuff off. It was really bad. Patrick.
Yeah, I believe you. What year was it?
That would have been, let's see, 97, probably. Yeah, okay. 97. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've never been to India, and I'm not a germaphobe, but I mean, but the combination of those things like that, and the big crowds, and the general chaos, kind of. I don't think I would enjoy myself.
There is, I'll tell you, I think that's why a lot of, like, if you meet a lot of like Indian nationals, like they're very chill people because they have learned to thrive in that chaos.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Good point. Yes.
Like, I remember I was on a train next to this lady that this beautiful, they call it a suit, right? It's like the 2-piece, like, deal that like Indian professional ladies wear. And like the train like stopped and started abruptly, like lurched forward and lurched backwards. So her chai falls. It goes all over her outfit. And she looked at me and said, that's why I always carry a spare. And she like grabbed her bag and went to the bathroom to change. And I was like, what? That's amazing. Like, these people are just ready. They're just ready for something crazy shit to happen. And how cool is that they don't let that bother them,
They just roll with it.
They totally roll with it because so much is beyond your control with that many people around.
That's true. That's something I should be working on. Personally, yeah. But that's another podcast.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
All right. So question 8. When did you screw everything up, but no one ever found out it was you?
I love this question. So on that same job where I was in IT, I was sent to Japan to open up an office, and the CEO of the company was extraordinarily cheap. And so he wanted me to take basically a big phone system from, Denver and like import it to Japan and then reinstall it at the new office. And like, I got there and like the electrical system was incompatible, like, right. And so, basically like I hung out in Japan for a few days. It was during the Nagano Olympics, which was very exciting.
Oh, wow.
It was 1998. Not that I saw anything of the Olympics, but it was all around. It was exciting that it was happening. I went home and I was like, okay, well, I can only do so much here. And I said, yeah, and so when they got there and like, hey, the phones aren't working. I was like, I don't know. It might be a problem with the building. It might be, so.
Not me.
Not me.
Wasn't me. There's not much that you could have done.
And it was not the kind of like boss where you could be like, hey, this isn't going to work. Like he won't take no for an answer. Right.
Oh, okay.
One of those kind of people. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like figure it out. Like Japan is not an easy place to like navigate. Like if you're not like, a national, it's very challenging. So yeah. Wow. Yeah. I justified it that way too, Patrick. Thank you.
That's all right. That works. Okay, so question 10. If you were given a 1-minute ad slot during the Super Bowl that you couldn't sell, you have to use it. What would you fill it with? 1 minute.
Oh, wow.
During the Super Bowl. You can do whatever you want.
Bagford had a really good answer to this one, like, cause I've also got a kid with autism. And I don't think people necessarily I will piggyback on his, cause I don't think I can have a better answer than that. Actually, because I think it's a huge, I think misconception, how funny and special, I think people on the spectrum are. And I don't think necessarily the general population gets that. They just kind of see sometimes the social differences and pass judgment. And, and I think that over time, people are way more, I would say, attuned today than they were 20, 30 years ago.
True.
But still got a long way to go. So I probably can't top that one.
I think I asked him the same question. What is the movie or TV show that you remember had a proper depiction of autism?
Yeah. So there is a TV show called Love on the Spectrum, and it's actually a reality show. Have you seen it? It's on Netflix.
I heard about it, but I haven't seen it.
It's Australian, and it's a bunch of, autistic adults who are kind of looking for a relationship, looking to date. And what I love about the show, it can be hard to watch at times just because it hits close to home. But the thing that it shows is that these people are so disarming, so charming, so wonderful when they're at home with their families that they know really well. And then they get out into the world and they have to, show interest in somebody else and kind of develop those kind of back and forth skills that a lot of them have been trained extensively to do. And it's really hard. And they, about half of them, thrive and about half of them struggle, but they all still are focused on the outcome that they do want this. They do want a relationship with somebody. But I think it does a good job of showing how comfortable they can be and also how hard it is for them, meeting somebody new.
All right. So yeah, I'll take note of that. It is Love on the Spectrum, right?
Yes. Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
On Netflix.
On Netflix. Yeah. It's a wonderful show. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know it was from Australia.
It is, and you can tell. I mean, there's lots of things like I watch and I'm
Accents.
like accents, yes. Well, accents, seaside locations,
Okay.
right, that are quite lovely. The kind of like Australian type home, like that you only see on TV. Well, I've only seen on TV, but there's also support, right? There's like, even though these people are adults and they've got jobs and stuff, there's still like a social safety net a little bit that like provides, social workers, right? And like social groups and that kind of stuff that, they wouldn't necessarily get here. It's like watching Degrassi, the new class with my kids. And I have to explain to them, well, in Canada, they have that, but we don't have that here. Same thing. In Canada, you can just pop out and get birth control pills and have them before the end of the school day. That doesn't happen here. So just get that out of your mind. Stuff like that.
That is a great comparison because I guess it's true, but I never thought of that,
There's lots of things like that. Like, yeah. Or like, they had, somebody called in like a bomb threat and like the cops showed up right away, stuff like that. Like, it's different. It's just different. Or they have a whole storyline with Syrian refugees coming in to the school, right?
Okay.
And integrating with the rest of the students. Something else that we haven't experienced. So it's actually really, sometimes you have to watch it and be like, hey, this is some kind of unique to Canada that they did. That's cool.
Okay, nice. Learned something new again today. That's good. I have 5 more questions if you like. Some kind of overtime. Okay. You're good for it?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so overtime. Question 1. You are going back in time and wind up face to face with 15-year-old Karli. You have 10 seconds before you travel back to the present day. What do you tell your younger self?
That's a great question.
Thanks. 10 seconds.
I would say, you're a badass. Don't be intimidated.
Okay.
Yeah.
You still have a few more seconds left?
No,
but that would be it pretty much.
I think that's it pretty much. I will tell you that I was always like singularly focused on getting the fuck out of my hometown. Very laser focused on that. So that was never a problem. I would say that sometimes I would get intimidated around people that I felt like were a lot better prepared than I was. And so I would say confidence has been like the big challenge. And so I would just say that.
Great answer. Yeah, absolutely. Question 2. If you could live in anyone's head for 15 minutes, being John Malkovich, same type.
Oh, yes.
You only as a spectator, you cannot control them. Who would you choose?
Only as a spectator.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great question. Let me think about that for just, I know. It's my hero. It's Colonel Chris Hadfield, the famous astronaut. I love him.
Oh, yeah.
I love him. I have met him because I love space. I love space exploration. I love how he thinks about things. And so to me, Mark Kelly, we kind of have Mark Kelly, that just, ran for Senate that also is like a very famous U.S. astronaut. But I love that. So I would say him.
Good call. And he's a fellow countryman. So how could I disagree with that? I'm all for it. Question number 3. You are on death row. Tomorrow is the final day. You get to choose the way you're going.
Uh-huh.
So how do you want to shuffle off this mortal coil?
I would drown because I don't know how to swim. So it'd be really easy.
But do you want to die by drowning?
Well, you just try to hold isn't it like that movie, The Big Blue, where you would hold your breath?
I
guess I've never thought this through.
I don't know, I guess. But apparently, I don't know. Like, I don't know. You start panicking and it's a horrible final 60 seconds,
Oh, that's true. Oh boy. Then, you're right. Thanks for talking me out of that. Gosh. I guess I would just take a pill, like a couple of pills, like, Janis Joplin or Jimi Hendrix style, right?
Yeah.
Or Marilyn Monroe style. There we go. Yeah. No, not that, because that's embarrassing. But yeah, I would say, no, I didn't mean that, but you know what I mean? Like she just took a bunch of pills, not how she was found, because that's bad.
Painless.
But yeah, painless.
I don't remember how she was found, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't want to be like, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I guess I should look it up or.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
No, I think she was like naked and like, yeah, like something happened. Something happened. I don't know. So anyway, that's why I said that.
It's not in a bathtub or
No, that was
what's
Jim
that?
Morrison. That was Jim Morrison.
Okay.
Was in his bathtub.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. All right. Question 4. Your superpower is you can give phobias to people. You can give fears to people. What would you make people afraid of? That's your superpower.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with this idea of like forcing people to walk in other people's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it would be some way of like making people that have always had it really easy to walk in the shoes of somebody's. So I would say it was a fear of like, losing like all of their like money, status, and power. I would say like a mortal fear of that. Cause I feel like that's why there's a significant lack of empathy, is that people just don't understand that, like, there's a lot of people that are dancing on a knife's edge in terms of their ability to have a home, be viable, have, you know what I mean? Healthcare, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I would give people a fear that like all those people that are really comfortable that shit isn't going to be taken away from them. I want them to feel what that's like, to actually have that visceral fear of that being taken away from them.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. What my answer was, because I thought about it, I would make people deadly afraid of the concept of greed.
Oh, that's the same idea. Yeah.
So
same concept.
Like,
yes.
Yeah, like they couldn't live with themselves if they weren't generous with other people.
Right. Exactly. I think it's the same idea. Yes. Yeah.
So same idea, but I think I prefer your way of phrasing it. Like, putting rich people in poor people's shoes, like not knowing if you can make it to the next paycheck,
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Good call. All right. Okay. So question 5. Actually, I have 6 questions. So question 5, I almost ditched that question, to be honest, but I'm going to give it a shot. What is the best Wi-Fi network name you've seen?
Oh, Taylor Swift fan club.
Okay. That works.
Yeah. It was funny.
Yeah, it's cool. Question 6, what is your hometown best known for?
It's best known for, I don't know, did you ever watch the TV show The A-Team?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay. So the face, Perry King, grew up in Alliance, Ohio. The face, Dirk Benedict.
Not Perry King. Not Perry King.
Oh, no, Dirk Benedict, sorry. Yeah,
Dirk
Benedict,
Benedict,
the other guy.
okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Because,
I get them confused because they looked alike. Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yes. I'm not going to, I will subordinate my knowledge of Mike Post related TV shows to you, because you probably know more than I do.
But no, Perry King was in Riptide, I think.
Oh, Riptide. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Another classic show.
Yeah. And so Dirk Benedict is from your hometown.
Yes. And also a professional wrestler that's not terribly well known called Kiwi, who was on the World Championship Wrestling, WCW, which was not as big as the WWF, was in my class.
Oh, okay. Your class.
Yes.
That specific. Okay.
Yes.
Nice guy?
Yes. Very nice guy. Yeah. But that movie, The Wrestler, like with Mickey Rourke, like there's a lot of truth in that, because this guy still does professional wrestling, like in his late 40s. And like he is beat up, and he's in, mostly in Europe, and it's a really hard life. And
with, painkillers and.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's tough.
Jeez. Okay, so that's that's a downer. That's a downer of an ending.
No, he's a very nice guy. He was really funny, and disarming, and a performer. And he was like the most popular guy in school, obviously. But he was a small guy, and then he went to train with Ric Flair in Atlanta. And they had like a factory that churned out professional wrestlers. And he participated in that. So, I mean, you can't get any better than, being a professional wrestler where I'm from. That's like the top of the food chain. That's even higher than being a high school. That's better than being a high school football star. That's a big deal.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Wrestling's big.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that. I thought that football was the thing. In Hawaii, especially.
It is a big deal. Yeah, it is a big thing. It is.
But that's wrestling, even more.
Even more, yeah.
Huh. Okay. I learned tons of things today. That's awesome.
Sorry. Okay, well, good.
All right. So, that's it for my questions. I got to thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
And
this was fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed. I had a great time as well. And where can we reach you online?
Yeah, Karli Anderson CO is my Twitter handle.
All right. Thank you again, and I will talk to you guys next week.